During the summer of 1913, over 7,000 miners went on strike in the mining town of Calumet in Michigan. This would end with 59 children dead. By the time that Christmas had arrived, most of the families were having a difficult time keeping food on the table. Providing presents for their children seemed nearly impossible. This was when the Ladies' Auxiliary of the Western Federation of Miners decided to hold a Christmas party for the kids on the second floor of Calumet's Italian Hall. The only exit was down a very steep stairway. 500 children and 200 adults were in attendance that day. As the children gathered around to receive presents close to the stage, someone near the bottom of the stairs yelled, "Fire!" All chaos ensued as the children and adults began to panic and rush to the door. Many were trampled in the ensuing dash to the only exit. The most tragic part of the entire ordeal was that there was no fire. It is speculated that the person who yelled fire was an ally of the mine management and their motive was to disrupt their party. A total of 73 people perished in the incident. Their ages spanned from 2.5 years of age to 66 years old.
On Christmas Day in 1929, James Arthur Lawson was sent with his cousin into town to buy more shotgun shells for an unknown reason. Little did he know that his errand would save his life. Upon his return, he found his entire family had been murdered. His mother, sisters Marie, 17, Carrie, 12, Maybelle, 7, baby Mary Lou, 4 months old, along with his brothers, James, 4, and Raymond, 2, had been picked off one by one. There were signs that Marie and Maybelle had tried to escape in vain. Some of the family members had been killed by gunshot, and others by bludgeoning. Some showed signs of both. Their bodies were found inside that home and in the adjacent tobacco barn. The scene was a gruesome one, and sadly, the perpetrator had been the patriarch of the family, Charles Lawson. The motive of the crime had never been determined, but these speculations range from Charles Lawson having lost his mind due to a head injury to him having impregnated his oldest daughter and committing the murder to cover it up. Charles Lawson took the motive to his grave, as he committed suicide in the woods close to his home by shooting himself as well.
On Christmas Eve in 1951, at about 10:30 p.m., a passenger train carrying 285 people was making its way over the Wangehu Bridge in New Zealand. Within the next few minutes, 151 of the passengers would perish. Minutes previous to crossing the bridge, a flash flood had carried away the support beams that held it together. A passerby attempted to prevent the tragedy by waving a torch to grab the attention of the conductor. At this point, the conductor applied the emergency brake, and this prevented all of the carriages from falling into the water. Although it minimized the amount of casualties, it did not stop 5 second-class carriages from falling into the water along with the locomotive. 20 of the passengers were immediately carried off by the current. Their bodies were never recovered. It is presumed that the currents were 75 miles per hour that day.
On the night of December 24th, 2008, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, 45 at the time, entered his former in-laws' home located in Covina, California, dressed in a Santa Claus suit. Before the night was over, 9 people were dead and 3 had sustained injuries. 1 week before the massacre, Pardo had finalized his divorce with his wife, Sylvia Orza. Authorities speculate that this was the motive that would lead him to commit murder. At around 11:30 p.m., he showed up at the home of his former in-laws in Covina, dressed in a Santa suit and bearing a present. The present actually concealed a homemade flamethrower, an automatic handgun, and 3 additional 9mm semi-automatic handguns. A holiday party was taking place at the time with 25 people in existence. Once the door had been opened, he fired the handgun into the face of his ex-wife's niece. The girl was only 8 years old at the time. After wounding the girl, he began firing inside the home indiscriminately. Once he was done firing at the partygoers, he unwrapped the homemade flamethrower and used it to spray racing fuel and set the house on fire. 9 people ranging from ages 80 to 17 died as a result of the shooting and the fire created by Pardo.